Welcome to the third paint in this surfboard series. If you haven't done so already, I would love for you to go back and look at the first two paints and see how I got to this point. You may see I do have a lot of light coming into the studio, and it was quite a bright day, so you might see the colors change a little bit. They get a little bit brighter and lighter. You may have seen that happen, and you might see that as the sun goes in and out behind the clouds. It really does affect the color of the board, but this will, hopefully you'll still get an idea of what this looks like, what the overall colors look like. I do pretty much maintain a similar color palette. I love the way these colors are working together. For me, it's now about getting the balance, the story, the right marks, the amount of complexity that I love getting in layers. And I will go a little bit, particularly in this paint, between the looseness that I've painted with before. It will remain loose, but I'm going to bring in a little bit more of a graphic-y style into this paint. I'm painting on a surfboard, and that in some ways changes up a little bit of how I go about things. So excuse me if I'm in front of the board when I'm painting. You will get to see it when I move away to get the actual paint. I'm bringing back in. So as you can see, I've taken a lot out with the white. It's reverse engineering for me. I'm giving myself more space while creating different negative shapes so that some of the underlying layers show, but not all. And then I bring back in a lot of the drama in the colors. So here I'm really going for it with these bright reds, bright oranges, and bright pinks. Next to the greens and the yellows and a lot of light pastel-y colours. I think at the end of this paint, a lot of the lighter areas will have gone. Again, it's kind of giving me an opportunity to take the story somewhere else. And I'm really wanting to put a lot of drama back in. So I may have started with a lot of drama, and then I needed the layers and the complexity, and now I'm bringing a lot of the drama back in. So here's that gorgeous blue that I really enjoyed in the early layers, painted in a different way. And you may see me painting directly out of a pot. Actually, I'm just using that remains of that pot, and I've put other bits and pieces into it. Ultimately, it is ultramarine blue. But I would have made it just a little less saturated with just putting some of the other colours into it. So I'm working on the blue areas now, going between the very, very bright ultramarine blue, bringing in lighter blues, but wanting to tell a story of the blue. And that's something that I often do too. I choose a colour, and then I bring in different tones of it in different ways to make the story, help the story work right the way across the painting. I love the way that blue and pink work together. It's a gorgeous combination, but I do need for that blue to be in a few different places so that it tells the story of the beach for me. It doesn't need to be everywhere for me. It just needs to be there. It speaks of the water and the sky, even if you just see a pop of it. Now moving to a more sandy kind of colour. And a lot of the paints that I'm working with have been quite opaque. So I know I like working with the opaque. As you can see there, that's quite a thick paint that I know is going to go and stay where I put it. And I'll often work with the same paintbrush with different colours. So I get a little bit of the colour from before into the paint. You can see I'm really in this particular paint giving myself opportunities for small stories within the big story. And I'm going back and forward quite a bit. You know, like I nearly get somewhere and then I decide to change it. So it just wasn't quite there for me. Again, I would say that these surfboards, they're a different kettle of fish for me. It brings out all sorts of different things for me, and I often do go back and forth, and I often end up with quite a bit of paint on these boards. So for sure they'll never be surfed on again. But as I do more of them, as with anything, the more you do certain substrates, certain sizes, you get to know how they're different nuances. And I have not painted more than 10 boards, so I'm still really working my way through the shape, through the way that the board falls. It's a different substrate to work on. And again, the toing and froing with the lighter colours and then bringing back the pops. I know I love them. It's just getting the right balance for me. And that takes a while. It certainly takes me a while when I'm painting on this surface. When I'm painting these in the studio and I have classes, I often have my students talk to me about what they see when I post them online or when they see me working in the studio. And I go over areas and I come back to them, and there are so many times that they say, oh, I thought it was finished, and then you kept going. And for me, until it says what I want it to say, I will keep going. I will never leave a painting at, oh, I quite like it. For me, there's no point in doing that. I really want to feel that it is complete, that it's not asking me anything more. And that can sometimes require a lot of toing and froing, and they don't always resolve. So at this point, I don't know in this painting, I don't know if it will resolve. I just know that I'm enjoying it. And that's the other thing. The whole process around painting for me is the process of it. What I get out of painting it is more important than the finished painting. So for me and my style of painting, there is very rarely a time where I will begin and end a painting in one session. It doesn't give me the process, the enjoyment, the lessons, the whatever it is that I'm looking for, that I look for in my practice in painting. I get through the actual doing of it. I learn so much. I think so much about different things as I'm painting, not necessarily about the actual painting that I'm doing. And I know that all of that goes into the work. So it's so important to me to take the time and to allow the story to develop, to enjoy the trip rather than trying to get to a destination. And that's something I do see a lot, the wanting to resolve a piece of work rather than the enjoying of the creation of the work. It's almost allowing the painting to reveal itself. And I'm here as a conduit for that story. So I keep showing up and I keep putting marks down and I keep following the bits that I love. I keep bringing on colors that I love and marks that I love with a certain intention. And then there's a big amount of trust. I've been here before. I've done this before. If I get to a point of I don't know what I'm doing, which I often do in my art and in my painting, I know that that's teaching me something. Probably resilience, consistency, trust, faith that if I keep going, faith in myself that if the painting is meant to resolve, it will. And if it doesn't, it has something else to show me. I know many a famous person have said that they learnt more from their failures than they did from their successes. And painting's like that for me. I don't always need a painting to work for it to work for me. I can learn so much through the process of it about painting, about the choices I make, about maybe what's going on in my life, because often my paintings reflect what's happening for me in my life at the time. I don't always know it. Sometimes I see it in the finished painting at a much later stage. Sometimes it's reflected through someone who buys the painting and reflects something back to me, and I think, oh, I get that now. I get that bit. I get why I needed to put that colour in or put that mark there. It's a real trust in your own practice, and I think it's something that you build up over time. And the voices that are in your head, they don't go. They may be silent sometimes, but they come back, and it's how you react to those voices that I think is the most important thing. We all have the judge, the critic, all of the different archetypes that we have in painting. It's how we move through them and moving through them, keeping on going, keeping on showing up, keeping on working and having a practice. Those bits are so, so important. And they're things that I teach in my different courses in the Messy Middle, which will be coming up next year in March. The enrollment happens in February. So if you're interested in moving through, those messy middle stages that, for me, every painting goes through those stages and they're so important. And it's how we move through them that will change our art and will change our practice. And so I teach that process in the Messy Middle. So if you're interested in that, then, sign up for my list at hello@denirayneau.com or on my website. And I'll let you know when I'm taking the enrollments for that. I also have my 6-month mentorship. It's a very small group. It's nearly full already. There's only 1 or 2 spots left now. But if you are interested in taking your work to a completely new level, at working with a group through 6 months, and in the 6 months we get to know each other, because art isn't just in the times that you're creating. When you're an artist, it's the way you live your life. It's how you move through every day. It's how you move through all the things that come up, the insecurities and doubts. It's how you move through the messaging that you've been given, maybe at very early stages that really restrict what you're able to do in your practice. And it can be such a beautiful and powerful thing to speak these things and to have them witnessed and to have reflection in a really gentle way. This is, it can be really difficult. Artists, we let our souls out for the world to see, and having a place where you can be understood, where you're with people that get it, that get you, that is also the beauty of having 6 months in a group. You find your people. You find people who can hold different areas of you, and that, like I say, can reflect things that in a gentle way, because they have that understanding. I mean, I have that understanding. I know what it's like for us to show up and show our work, particularly since I do these live paints where I have no idea where they're going to go. I'm showing you my vulnerability through, okay, I'm putting down this color. Did it work? I'm moving on to the next one. Because I'm painting so openly and honestly and showing you all the bits and the layers, it's a really vulnerable process. And I think it's important to show that. I think it's important to show where things don't go right, as well as where things do, and what can happen when you fully trust your process. So I hope you'll join me in the 4th video. I'll see you soon.